Hey, I'm Brian from LastMile SF, and today I'm going to show you how to change a Spider tire. The Spiders usually come with a 2-inch tire. We're going to upgrade this one to a 2 1/4. So first things first, let's start with a beer. Now that you got your beer, what I like to do is lay the scooter down on the ground like that. It's going to be much easier to do a tire change. The tools that you're going to need here are a socket wrench, 3/4, some tire irons. These tire irons, you can get them on Amazon. They're actually metal tire irons and they're small. Park Tools makes them. The number on it is TL 6.2 and they're really good. The plastic ones will break if you try and use those. And then you need a 3mm Allen key if you're going to remove the back wheel, and the back is very similar to the front. And then just some helpful little things that you don't need. We do have a puller here in case you have to pull the swing arm off. It makes it much easier. And then we have some tire dressing here to help put the tire back on. And then just a skate key that'll hook up to this puller if we need it. And at this point, I don't know. Start with a sip of beer. That's a good one. And then, if you are changing old good tires, make sure to take the air out. So unscrew your valve cap. And then just make sure there's no air in here. So now we're going to remove the swing arm with the 3/4 inch socket. So they're on there pretty tight. Okay, so you've got your axle bolt off. Now it's time to take the nut off the top. Once you've got both of those off, it's time to remove this front swing arm. So you can either use a screwdriver or something to kind of stick in there and jam it. Be careful of the motors and the tire and everything else. If you do have a puller, which we do, they're really nice to have, but there's more than one way to get this off. You could, even figure something out with this, but we have the right tools. We're going to use the right tools. So for the puller, you just put this on either side here. And then I can do the same thing down here. So now we got that off. You've got your locking washer that's going to be on the outside of that swing arm over here. And then your other washer that's going to go on here first. Second. Now you got to remove the tire. So it's time to take your blue tire irons and remove the tire just like a bicycle, except it's way harder because you got a really small circumference that you're working with. So take your time, try not to swear. If you have more than one tire iron, that's going to be very, very, very helpful. So I like to get a couple in there. And then do the old 1, 2, 3. Then you can kind of work your way around. Once you get it about 1/4 of the way, it should come off pretty easily. So once you've got that off, it should look like this. And it's definitely time to reward yourself with a sip. Okay, if you're reusing the tube, be careful when you pull this tube out. So take your valve, push it up through the wheel, and try and carefully remove that tube. Then put that aside. And we should probably take another sip. Okay, now you want to remove the rest of the wheel because we're going to be done with this one, or the rest of the tire because we're done with this one. So just pry it over the side. Use your tire iron. And you got that off. Now it's time to put the new tire on. Now you're ready to take your new tire and put it on. So make sure you get your rotation right, which there's a little arrow right here that says tire rotation. So it's the front tire, it's gonna rotate like that. So it's gotta go on in this direction. This is where some tire dressing really helps. This one is that brand. So I'm just gonna lube up the back of the tire here just to make it easier to slide onto that motor. And then this is why you have it on the ground, because it's actually way easier to do this if it's on the ground than on a stand. So just kind of start pushing the tire on. So we got the back half of the tire on there pretty easily. Now what I like to do is take the tube. You should check your tube or replace the tube. This one I know is good, so I'm gonna install this again. And then first I'm gonna have a sip of beer. And now we're gonna install this. So I'm gonna check the tire rotation again. It is in the right direction, just to make sure you don't goof that one up. And then the first thing you wanna do is make sure your valve is lined up right. So this part's kind of annoying, but you stick the tube in there. And now I'm just gonna line the valve up with the valve hole. So we got the valve through, which is cause for a sip of beer for sure. Okay, now we're gonna make sure the tube is nice and tight around the whole wheel. You definitely don't wanna put the tire onto the wheel and pinch the tube or you're gonna be swearing again. So get that as centered as possible. I'm just gonna add a little bit of air because it's gonna help keep that tube straight and make sure we're not gonna pop it after we put the rest of the tire on. So these valves are a little tricky. So just a little bit of air in there helps keep it straight. Make sure your valve's pulled out nice. And now it's time to put the tire back on. So that's when I take a little bit of the lube and lube up the tire here. And I just like to do half. If you do the whole thing, it gets really slippery. So take the tire dressing on half of it here and put it on the motor down there. And now start from the bottom here. And now I've got it about halfway on. And I'm checking the tube that it's not pinched, which it looked like it was a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of work it up. And now I've got it over the halfway point. Now it gets a little tricky. So just keep pressing, making sure you don't have that tube. Fuck! So I'm gonna put my knee on here for a little leverage and then just keep pushing. I got this last little bit. I'm just gonna try and lever it over. There we go. And if you spill your beer mid-installation, You have to have a penalty chug, which we're gonna do, not to worry. Clean this up and do a penalty chug, and then we'll be back to show you how to put it back together. Then you gotta refill, because you're not done with your project yet. Now that we've got the tire completely back on, I like to inflate it before just finishing everything to make sure we don't have any leaks, make sure everything looks like it's buttoned up. So the valve sticks out a little bit. If you need it to stick up a little bit more, you can use a tool to pull it up, just like that. And then any pump will do ya. And then I'll set the pressure to 40 PSI. Sound good? Okay, we're at 40 PSI. It does say 35 on the tire. You can run it kind of however you like. 35 is probably more ideal. So we'll check it and make sure we get 35 more done. But the wheel's holding air, everything looks good. If you do get a little bit of wheel wobble when you're done, you can kind of see that there's more of the wheel sticking out over here, so it does look like it's off a little bit. So all you have to do with that is deflate the tire and get it as low as you can. And then we're just gonna kind of massage the tube into the tire. That should help straighten everything out. And then re-inflate. So that looks much straighter. If you want to get it even straighter and you're having trouble getting it so that this tire stops to wobble, what you can do is run it at a very low PSI, take it outside for a ride, just go up and down the street really quick. And what that'll do is really seat your tube and then inflate it back up to 35, 40 PSI, wherever you like to ride it. So now we've got the tire back on, everything's set. Take a sip of beer. So now it's time to take your swing arm and put it back on. So just make sure it's even. Like so. And then you got your washer. And then it's time to take this one. And then don't forget your lock washer. The inside one is gonna face down. The outside one, after it's going on, is gonna face up and lock into right here. And that'll make sure your axle is lined up right. So just drop that guy in. And then this nut goes on the top. Then get your socket, and you really want to tighten these things down pretty much as hard as you can get them. And don't spill your beer twice. And now you're done. Celebrate with another sip of beer. Congratulations, you've now changed the tire. You've upgraded your 2-inch wheels to 2 1/4. Good job. Thanks for watching the video. Please like us, subscribe, comment, ask questions, bring your scooter in for repair to us. Thanks again.